If there's one game that's been on my mind going into 2024, it's Light No Fire. I'll be honest, I have been jonesing for a good open world survival game, and this could just fit the bill. First revealed at the Game Awards in 2023, Light No Fire is a game about adventure, building, survival, and exploration on a scale the team says no player has ever experienced. There is very little information out there on the game itself, but we can glean quite a bit from the reveal trailer, which features all in-game multiplayer footage. First, I think it's important to point out what the game says about itself. In the first few seconds, we see the words multiplayer Earth, procedural Earth, fantasy Earth, and unexplored Earth all pop up on the screen, and that's telling. 3 of the 4 of those phrases don't mean a whole lot. Yes, it's great that this is going to be multiplayer, but just watch a few seconds of the trailer and you can pick that up. What I think is most interesting is the phrase procedural Earth. Hello Games, developers of No Man's Sky, are no strangers to procedural generation, but what does that mean in the context of this game? If we're speculating, I think it means the entire world, this Earth-like parallel planet, is entirely procedurally generated. If I'm the host and I invite everyone to my world, then they'll get to experience the unique aspects of my game, which would most likely mean the layout of the biomes, the location of points of interest, and the geometry of the terrain, like lakes, rivers, and mountains, just to name a few. If I were to join one of your worlds, then I think that planet would feel entirely different. My guess is the biomes won't change much at a structural level. The desert biome will always be the desert biome, and that is probably dictated at the development level. But that doesn't mean things within those biomes couldn't change. In fact, I think they will quite a bit, and that means 2 things. Players are going to have vastly different experiences from one world to the next, and players will most likely want to optimize their world right from the start, looking for key indicators that they have a quote-unquote superior planet. These are all pretty standard things that line up with procedurally generated open-world adventure games, but what about the game itself? Once the world is built, what is there for players to do? Well, if you slow down the reveal trailer, Light No Fire certainly buries a couple of really interesting things in plain sight. For starters, let's talk about exploration. This is a massive open-world adventure survival game, and that means journeying on, above, and potentially below the surface of the planet. I would say this first trailer is entirely based on the idea of exploration alone, because almost every frame shows players navigating the world. A number of biomes stood out to me, including windy hilltops with lush greenery and a pleasant and calm serenity, a sulfuric wasteland that's barren and blistered, an ancient woodland that's eternally stuck in autumn, and a stormy mountaintop devoid of most color, experiencing torrential rain. We also got a great look at some underwater gameplay, which, if you know me, I am not thrilled about due to my fear of water, but I have to admit it looks almost magical. Oftentimes, underwater areas of games are barren, devoid of any sort of life, but that's the opposite case here, and it's clear underwater exploration will be teeming with interesting opportunities. So what's the point of all of these biomes? It's a simple question, but does get at the heart of the gameplay: exploration and discovery. In each biome, I have to imagine players will not only find unique resources exclusive to that part of the world, but also strange and fantastical things that will shape the world itself. It's unclear if Light No Fire will have quests in the traditional sense, but there are certainly enough oddities in the trailer that make me think there's at least 1 or 2 threads that pull throughout the entire game, keeping everything grounded. If that's not the case, then there is still a lot more to do, at least at first glance, and I think a huge part of the gameplay experience will be gathering, crafting, and building. We do get a glimpse, just a small taste of that in the gameplay trailer. We see an all too familiar sight, players cutting down trees, but we also see, in parallel, players carrying planks back to their house as those homes materialize seemingly out of thin air. So far, I love the way everything in this scene looks, from the bright and vibrant fantasy world to the home itself, which feels like something out of a J.R.R. Tolkien novel. At this point, I think building in survival games has become almost commoditized. You chop down trees, lay down a foundation, slap up some walls, put on a roof, and that's the ball game. Obviously, that's oversimplifying things, but for every masterpiece that someone builds out in the open world, there's about 100 basic houses that completely take away from the charm of the world itself. What I'm getting at is that I hope Light No Fire takes a new approach to building, with a focus on more intimate and practical homes that fit the world. By the look of the trailer, things could be trending that direction, but it's just too early to tell. Now, what is clear is that things aren't all serene and peaceful in this world, and one huge highlight of the trailer was the emphasis on mounts and action. Again, you have to slow down the trailer to catch every detail, but if you do that, you'll learn quite a bit. Within this 2-minute trailer, we got a look at a few very impressive mounts for both the ground and sky, including giant birds. We actually see the hummingbird mount in an extended clip, but these giant blackbirds almost snuck by me. We also see the same horse/ram hybrid a few times throughout the trailer. Then there's the drakes, which we see a few varieties of throughout the trailer. There's even an extended clip of the player mounting and taking off from the back of a drake, which is really impressive. Finally, there are a few non-living mounts like the glider, a means of traversal I always enjoy in my games, as well as boats, which I think hint at a much larger presence of water than we're used to in our survival games. I'm honestly excited about all of this because not only is the diversity of mounts interesting, but it means there'll have to be a way to unlock, tame, or otherwise collect these different modes of transportation, which is always high on a collector's list of things to do. Now that you've seen them, what do you guys think of the mounts and what could potentially be in the game? What mounts would you like to ride in Light No Fire? Leave us a comment down below and share your thoughts. Regardless of what mount you choose, when you go off exploring the world, it's pretty obvious that you're going to want to bring along two things: a few friends and some weapons. We don't get a great look at the combat in this first trailer, but we certainly see the fantasy elements come to life. Throughout the 2-minute look at the game, we see characters on multiple occasions with bows, and we even see those bows put into use when a pair of players is hunting some wild boar. We also see a quick shot of a character with a magical staff, and then a second magical staff on the back of a player later on. Then there's a variety of swords and shields, with the only action shot coming in the desert biome when a player is taking on an army of crabs led by a massive crab monster. Throughout all of this, you might have noticed that not every player is human, and that actually caught me by surprise too, because when I think fantasy, I think trolls and orcs, not otters and rabbits. But that's exactly the kind of fantasy that Light No Fire is exploring, fantasy rooted in a bit of reality. Throughout the trailer, we get a glimpse at a couple different races, which I have to imagine are all playable, including humans, rabbits, otters, and then a slightly larger furred creature, possibly a cat, but we never really get a great look at it. Either way, this is a really different take from most other games, and if you think about the customization potential that all of these races allow for, well, that's pretty exciting. At this point, Hello Games is once again showing us what ambition looks like. They're offering up ideas we never knew we wanted, while simultaneously saying, trust us, you're going to love this. And that's a complicated relationship to buy into. I think we all know the general story of No Man's Sky's disastrous launch in 2016, and then glorious comeback even today in 2024. Unlike a number of developers that have cut and run from bad developed games, the team put their heads down and continued to pump out quality content for No Man's Sky. I mean, just look at the Steam reviews. Very positive recent reviews, and mostly positive all reviews. That is not what happened back in 2016. And that sample size is nothing to scoff at. Nearly 220,000 reviews for a game. That is a lot. Again, what I'm getting at is that Hello Games has definitely proven that they're willing to commit to a game long term, and you have to imagine they've learned a few lessons along the way. But that doesn't necessarily mean things are going to be perfect at launch, or that we should buy into the hype. What I found really interesting is that the trailer for the game is already part of a paid marketing campaign. I will consistently see the trailer as a sponsored video in my feed on YouTube and on Reddit, which is strange. As a marketing guy, it's hard not to read that as a sign that the game is much further along in development than we might think. You don't usually spend marketing bucks on a game that's multiple years away from launch, but who knows? The team is definitely unorthodox and no stranger to breaking norms, so I might be reading into it a bit too much. If at the end of the day, Light No Fire ends up being a 2024 release, I think we'll all benefit from a wildly ambitious game disrupting what is an otherwise quiet year, as compared to 2023 at least. That being said, the game doesn't have a firm release date, so if you are interested in other games that do, check out our video highlighting some of the biggest games of 2024 already released on the channel. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.